Welcome everybody to a brand new show. Have some familiar faces if you've been following us as, people in general, but for now, we are the coaches in this scenario, all right? Coach Brayden and Coach Joe are sitting down with you because we're sticking on the sidelines, all right? We did our time playing our sports. We are now retired, all right? We are the coaches now. So we are sticking to the sidelines as you might have assumed going into this. So with Stick to the Sidelines, we're going to be talking a lot of our personal favorite sports. So if you're here to get basketball takes or soccer takes, I'm sorry to tell you that ain't happening. That's not going to be happening here. But here, we're going to be talking baseball. We're going to be talking football, both pro and college levels. We're going to have a little bit of hockey sprinkled in, and we're going to have some golf sprinkled in as well. The golf season did just wrap up, but we, of course, have the Ryder Cup. So make sure to stay tuned for a lot of different episodes that are going to be coming out here. But to start us off, we're going to be going right into the NFL season. And so with that, we're going to go over each division one by one with each conference. So with this, we're going to start it off with the West divisions. Let's start it off with the NFC. Brayden, what are your standings as of right now? Before the season's even started, preseason's done. All right, the deadline to bring guys up, put them on, and get that 53-man roster settled has been gone. So now we know what the teams are looking like. What is your predictions for the West of the NFC?
I'm going to be honest. I think we should start with showing what our biases are going to be.
True. That's a good
I am
point.
a self-proclaimed Michigan man. I was born there, and I take after my father and his family. So I am a fan of all things Detroit, Michigan University. So expect my biases to come out there.
Myself, I was born and raised. If you can't already tell by the flag that's right above me, I was born a Steelers fan, Pittsburgh all around, but mainly just the Steelers. And then as we grew older, we got into the hockey aspect with the Penguins, and then with baseball, we grew up going to Orioles games because I live around Baltimore, so grew up a little bit of an Orioles fan. But as we've gotten older, we've gotten back into the Pirates. Unfortunately, I might add, but we've all had our struggles with our own baseball teams. But Pittsburgh is myself. Brayden, you are Detroit specifically. Michigan
You also
overall.
see
So
glorious goat Barry Sanders over here on my wall. Starting off with the NFC West, you said? See,
yeah,
when you
yeah.
go online or you hear people in the professionals, as they like to call themselves, give takes about this is the division where apparently every single team is just going to be phenomenal this year. Look out for this team, and they're all from the West. Well, they can't all be good.
Exactly.
Will they all be better than last year? Yeah, I wouldn't put that past them. I mean, a lot of them had really bad seasons last year or mediocre seasons. Um, I think if I'm going to take a start off, I'm going to put. I think this is a hot take. I'm going to put San Francisco falling last in the division. I think their offense is
Interesting.
scattered in terms of weapons. Other than George Kittle, they have nothing consistent. They're dealing with multiple injuries and off the field issues with their wide receiver room. Christian McCaffrey, I love him. He's Hall of Fame material. He may never be the same again. They're trading for running backs. I can't remember who they just acquired to back him up. Brian Robinson from the Commanders,
Yep,
who's a
exactly.
phenomenal running back, but he's not the same play style as Christian McCaffrey. And their defense is just littered with holes. I mean, that has been demolished over the past 2 years. So as much as I like Brock Purdy and a lot of players on that team, I have them falling last.
I don't have that same sentiment with the Niners. Right now, I have them as my second best team in the West. I definitely think they're going to get things figured out offensively. I think CMC is going to be able to have a little bit of a bounce back. I don't think he'll ever get to what he was before, but I definitely think he's going to be able to overcome that Madden curse, overcome everything else that's kind of been thrown his way recently, and be able to get this team at least somewhere. But I wouldn't put this team past not even making the playoffs. I could see the Niners being second in their division, but still not making the playoffs.
Right. I don't have them as a 3-win team or anything like that. I just see them as
Right.
having a mediocre
Exactly.
season and falling last. Maybe it's to some technicalities of losing to divisional opponents.
Yeah.
In the third place, I have Arizona. I think they could do like one game better, and I wouldn't be surprised than the Niners in my eyes. Their offense is better. Marvin Harrison Jr. is going to get better. Kyler Murray, I think, is going to get better. They fixed their defense a little bit. Their offensive line is still looking pretty solid. McBride is a phenomenal tight end. I see them having a solid season. I think Cardinals fans have a lot to look forward to this year.
I would completely agree. I think they're definitely going to get better. I would say that their ceiling at this point could be even like 10 wins. But for me, I have them at my 4 just because this division is so filled with like
Yes.
mediocrity. And that's not to be like thought of negatively. All of these teams are good enough that they can get in that pack of like 9, 10, 11 wins, but they're not going to be pushing anything like the Eagles
Yes.
at some point throughout the season. So I have the Cardinals at last. I think the biggest factor for them is going to be, what is Kyler Murray going to do? Is he going to continue to be that guy that just can't make those clutch plays like he has in the past like season or two? And also their coach, like, it's he's going into his 3rd year. What are we going to be doing with that?
Right.
Is that a, all right, we're waving the white flag, we're going to just surrender the rest of the season by week 8, or are we still in contention, or are they going to make a push? But I do have them at that 4
I
spot.
mean, their weakest link, I would say, is probably their run game. James Conner is still
Mm-hmm.
their running back one. He's not what he used to be anymore. I would have
No.
liked to see them take something in the draft that would have helped out a little bit, maybe like even a third round guy. But
Yeah.
yeah, it didn't really seem all that much. I do have them, like I said, probably maybe only one game more than the Niners. But at number 2 is my Seattle Seahawks, or not mine, I should say, but the Seattle Seahawks. I think Sam Darnold is going to be good enough to have the Baker effect where he can revitalize his career somewhere else. They're still a good team despite losing Tyler Lockett, despite losing DK Metcalf, despite this strange running back battle that they have going on. I think they can contend well within their own division, and I think they'll pick up a lot of big wins in different places.
I think the Seahawks definitely made a better representation for themselves with amongst their team in general with getting rid of Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf, because not saying that either one of them are bad, but it was getting a little stale. You had Jackson Smith and Jigba, that was your 3rd, but still managed to play a lot better than what Lockett and Metcalf did in many different weeks. But Metcalf was one of those guys that had a little bit more of an attitude to him, and I don't think that was going well for the Seahawks, and they needed a different perspective, especially after having first-year coach McDonald taken over from last year. I think that he also was in that kind of aspect. So I have them going 3rd. I would say probably 1 or 2 games right before the 49ers. I could honestly see it going down to that the Seahawks just lost to the 49ers in one of their rivalry games, and then that's why they're at that 3rd position. But they're definitely going to be at around that 8-9 win
Right.
slot.
I think between Charbonnet and Kenneth Walker, that's a great running back duo. Probably going to be the most underrated this year. You get Cooper Kupp, you get Sam Darnold, who's coming off a confident season for both of them. And I think that offense is really going to click, and it's going to look a lot better than the Geno Smith one, which is, I think, kind of a hot take, but I'm not entirely sure. Um,
I definitely think it could be
which
better.
I'm assuming now we both have the LA Rams at number 1. Were you at all ever worried with the Matthew Stafford stuff with his back?
I am a little bit worried about it. I in my fantasy drafts, actually, there's a few teams that I have Matthew Stafford as one as my backups, and I've been trying to trade him away because I don't know if I'm trusting him right now, because he is extreme, he's getting up there in age, and with a back problem, that's never good to see with a quarterback. So me personally, I don't think it's going to be the end of the Rams. I think their defense is still going to be able to carry them through a lot of games, and I think is going to win them a lot. But also, the running back of Kyron Williams, I think, is going to be taking a massive load this year, and he is going to really project this team to get forward. And I could see him being in contention for Offensive Player of the Year by the end of the year.
Yeah, I think their run game is definitely going to be better. I think I was never worried with the Stafford stuff, just because like it would have come out if it was seriously a disc problem or something. I mean, I've been watching him in Detroit, and he's been playing with broken hands and all sorts of billion other injuries he acquired there. And so he's a tough guy. He'll know when his last time is and when he shouldn't put himself out
Right.
there. Honestly, had they won the Super Bowl last year, like it looked like they might have for a second, I thought Stafford would have retired. I was a little surprised when he said that he was playing again. I do think this could be his last year. But like I took the Rams defense in fantasy because I think they're going to be a top 3 defense at the end of the year. They're super young. They're super aggressive. That front 7 is just unbelievable.
Having Jared Verse was one of their best picks
Yes.
that they've had over the past few years. And And I think he's going to, again, like same with Kyron Williams, make that jump again, continue to get sacks, continue to get those tackles where it counts the most on those 3rd and 6s, and then he's going to tackle him right by that 4th and 1, and it's gonna make a difference.
Not to mention the Devontae Adams is a improvement from Cooper Kupp, who was previously injured. Puka's only going to get better. The only thing I worry about is that offensive line. They are terrible in obvious passing situations at protecting the quarterback. Stafford is not mobile, but he's not immobile. So if they can get better at that, I think they got a new acquisition in free agency. I can't remember. But I do think that Sean McVay is aware of those problems, and he's definitely going to help them go into the playoffs easily.
I would completely agree. Moving on to the AFC, I'll start us off with what we got going on. For the West on the AFC side of things, you have the Chiefs, the Chargers, the Broncos, and the Raiders. For myself, starting at the number 4, I'm going with the Raiders. They are definitely on the rise, though. Okay, definitely don't put this team aside. They could come out and win some unexpected games. I could see the Chiefs going 3-3 throughout the division this year, just because you have those uncertainties of Ashton Genty. What is Geno Smith going to do in his first year at the reins for the Raiders? Is Pete Carroll going to revitalize himself as a coach? And are we going to continue to see Brock Bowers be the monster that he is at that tight end position? And so I could see this team going to a point of like 8 or 9 wins, but I could also see them falling to around 3 or 4. So it's such a kind of a coin flip of a team, and that's why I have them at my 4.
Yeah, I mean, aside from Max Crosby, their defense is just one giant question mark. But I totally agree with you. I mean, their offense, after we finish cut day, Amari Cooper's back in Oakland. They still have Jacoby Myers, who is, take it as you will, he's decent enough. Ashton Genty, Geno Smith. I mean, these are weapons. Brock Bowers is arguably a top 5 tight end already in the league to some people. So I could see them, I would say their floor is probably 4 wins. I can see them going as high as, I would say 7, maybe 8. I do think they might play their division a lot better than we expect. I think Pete Carroll is definitely going to focus on those games because he's going to want to try and make some sort of playoff push. Tom Brady seems to be making all the right moves now that they've let him step into a more hands-on situation of his ownership.
Yeah. For me at the 3rd, you have the Broncos, the Denver Broncos. Now, I think that this is a hard decision to make, and I would hear anybody out that would say that the Broncos could win the division, because I feel like at this point, the West used to be dominated by Chiefs Kingdom, and we'll get there when we get to the Chiefs, but with the Broncos, the biggest thing is just their defense, okay? Their defense has been proven time and time again, but at this point, you would think that they would continue to be consistent and would win them as many games as they would, but they still continue to fall in some aspects. And so I think that's my biggest question mark, is what is this Broncos team going to really be doing on the defensive side of the ball, and is it going to be making a difference? I know that Bo Nix can do it. I know that you have Cortland Sutton, who is sometimes underrated as a wide receiver, and they can get the job done with Sean Payton at that offensive playbook, but in the eyes of the Broncos defense, that's where my question mark lies, so that's why I have them at 3.
I don't think their defense is going to get too much worse if it does get worse than last year. I think they're still going to be one of the most consistent. Patrick Surtain, obviously a dog. You can't ever forget about him when he's on the field, former defensive award winner. I have them finishing 2nd. I think that they're going to leapfrog immensely what they did. They got new offensive help in the draft. I think Sean Payton and Bo Nix are only getting better as a duo. Bo Nix, obviously, I think he's going to be the biggest non-sophomore slump quarterback of his draft. I think he's really going to do better than his rookie year by an insane amount. I see them possibly, I wouldn't be surprised if someone told me they're going to win the division or if they're going to sweep the Chiefs because they are just that good when it comes to their offensive side of the ball.
And the biggest thing when it comes to football is that there's so many different times that, things come to a coin flip, or things come down to just a simple few inches. That's the game of football, and I think
I
that
mean, think about it last year.
the
They lost
biggest
to the Chiefs that first game because of a blocked field goal, which is like one of the most unlikely things to happen in all of sports or in all of football. So it's like they
exactly
very easily could have won that game. So I would not
exactly
put them aside as a mediocre team anymore.
not at all. But for me, I put the Chargers at my number two, mainly because of Justin Herbert and his relationship he's been building with Jim Harbaugh. Also, a little bit of Jim Harbaugh having a little bit of revenge that he wants to put out just on football in general after the Michigan uh, consequences,
He
we'll say,
doesn't
that
care.
came up.
He doesn't
I think he
care.
cares just a tiny little bit. He has it in his back pocket. And so that relationship though that he's building with Herbert, I think is definitely going to shine in this season. They were able to start building it, and it came into aspects a few different times last season. But I think this season we're going to see it propelled a little bit more. Gets them to about 10-7. I'd say maybe 11-6 on the season. I see them as a playoff team going forward for the AFC.
I have the Chargers at third. I think there is still question marks with their wide receivers. Keenan Allen is old. He wasn't great in Chicago. He's not going to get any better just because you give Justin Herbert back to him. I think Lad McConkey is still great. Losing Rashawn Slater is a massive deal, especially when you do have guys like Max Crosby that you're going to play twice a year, or other good teams that they play. I'm trying to look at their whatchamacallit season right now. I mean, they're going to have to go play the Giants with Abdul Carter. They're going to have to go and play the Vikings, who have a great defensive line. They're going to play the Steelers. They're going to play the Eagles. They're going to play, obviously, the Chiefs twice. And so it's like, can you protect your quarterback the whole season? I think they can, because I think Justin Herbert is mobile enough to get out of that. I think Justin Herbert is taking so long to get over the hump, though. I think people like to hype him up more than he actually is. I think he's great,
Mm-hmm.
but he's never been top five ever. But people like to try and slide him into that slot.
Rome in that conversation.
Right.
Right.
I think their defense still has some question marks. Nobody's getting younger on that side of the ball, and they don't seem to
Mm-hmm.
be making any splash acquisitions there. I love Jim Harbaugh, obviously, as a Michigan fan, but other than his relationship with Herbert, I don't think he's doing much good aside from instilling a new culture with that team.
Next, you got what's almost inevitable at this point. You have the Chiefs at one for me, but I think that this is going to be a Chiefs team that is going to start on the decline a little bit. I don't think the dynasty is quite over. I think this is going to be one of those seasons, like what Tom Brady had back in around the 2013 2014 kind
Yep,
of time frame, where there was a little bit of a decline. Gronk was hurt. I think this is where Travis Kelce's age starts to really
for sure.
show. But also with the fact of having Rashee Rice out for the first 6 games is going to be brutal for them, and that I could see those first 6 games them going to be at like 3-3 potentially, and having a little bit of a rocky start because they don't have those weapons. But Patrick Mahomes is enough of a weapon in himself to put them above it. I would still say that I could see them exiting the season at around 11-6, 12-5. It's going to put them, for me, in the playoff season at around 13, at around the third or fourth position in the playoffs. I don't think that a first week bye is going to be in their future for this
I
season, though.
mean, I'm going to go out and say that, because we were talking about this 2 years ago with Patrick Mahomes and his wide receiver core. I would go as far to argue that this is the worst Chiefs team Patrick Mahomes has ever had. Travis Kelce is 35 years old. He did not play very well last year. He had his worst season, I believe. Patrick Mahomes did not have a great season in general last year. He was barely in the top stats for most of it. He was never in MVP conversation for the first time in seemingly forever. Their wide receiver room is a mess. Hollywood Brown is coming off of a massive injury last year. They have Rasheed Rice's massive
Mm-hmm.
suspension. Did you know Juju Smith-Schuster was still in the league? I didn't.
He was on the New England Patriots, and then he signed with them towards the end of the
I remember
season
when he won the
last
Super
year.
Bowl with them 2 years ago, 3 years ago.
Yep.
But I mean,
Yep.
Chris Jones is still going to be
Still on the
good.
squad.
Nick Bolton, all these other guys, but Trent McDuffie. But it's like, it's such a mess on the offensive side of the ball that you do wonder, like, Brady had his down years when Gronk was hurt and whatnot, but he always found a way to make his wide receivers better. but he was also getting new guys constantly. Mahomes is stuck with the same random couple of guys every year, with maybe one or two
Yeah.
getting switched out, and they're never great wide receivers. They just win the games because I don't know, maybe the refs do save them, or but they're always one score games. I mean, how many one score games did they win last year? It was insane.
It was a good amount, and I think that that is going to start to not look in their favor. The football gods are not going to be favoring them in these one score games. That it's going to come down to, this time around, they're not going to get that blocked field goal that they did against the
Right.
Broncos. They're not going to get those, lucky touchdowns that they
Isaiah Likely's toe on the
continuously
goal
got.
line. Like,
Yeah, exactly. It's not going to be as lucky for them this season, but I still see them going to, they're going to be that first team in the West. The West, I think, is going to be one of the biggest divisions to watch out for, though, mainly just because of the amount of fun that we could see coming out of this, is that all the offenses have really, really nice and fun weapons to
yep.
watch that are all very young and are able to create a lot of potential, and I think that that is something to watch for the West.
I mean,
here.
they lose enough divisional games. Like, is anyone going to be surprised if they come third in their division behind Denver and LA? I wouldn't necessarily be surprised if they can't win those divisional games, which they do usually play so well. It's just going to be a matter of how well can they win that first game against the Chargers and set a tone in Mexico.
Exactly.
Also, Travis Kelce just
Well,
got engaged,
that is
so
going to do it.
he's going to be other things on his mind. He's not going to be locked into football.
That's true. We do have to mention the engagement. So that could do wonders for the team. Maybe it propels them to be 14-2, maybe even 15-1. But you never know.
Wouldn't
for
be
it.
a
But
football show.
That is
if
going
we
to do it
didn't
for
talk
the
about Taylor Swift.
That is going to do it for the West divisions here. We're going to move on to going on to the North, the South, and the East. So make sure to stay tuned for those other episodes that'll be coming out here shortly.